Howdy everyone, it's me once again, the one and only Killerrodan. So alright, as you can see, I'm going to be doing a video for my original channel because I want to be more frequent on this channel, of course. And yes, obviously I will post a link down below for my second channel where I'll be talking about movies and such. And yes, obviously I will post a link down below for Air Force and when you see some more video game content being posted consistently, I guess, if you want that. So for today's video, I'll be speaking about Kevin Swanson, this pastor. I've spoken about this guy a bunch of times already by this point. So of course, he's one of these conservatives that really wants women to be kept in their place. But he seems to be complaining about women a lot, especially in this day and age, for the obvious reasons, of course. So he wants to go back to a certain era of America because apparently that's like the single greatest time ever. Okay, to be a bit more specific for the podcast I'll be responding to, Girl Scout cookies. Yep, Girl Scout cookies, and he's gonna be talking about lesbians, of course, and how Christians should stand up to what's right and whatnot, which makes him seem really homophobic and sexist. But that's pretty much what he's gonna be talking about here, of course, and it's nothing but lies, obviously. He'll be doing this podcast with somebody, of course. Yes, someone else would be doing this kind of thing with him. That being said, let's get into it, shall we? Here we go.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough, wanna hate this, I'll show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. Everything I do so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who got it. Being negative when you should be getting after it. I got facts over tracks. This and that, spitting slow, spitting fast. I can roast, I can gas. Think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past and the pettiness. A reflection of the emptiness. Hilarious, you think you're worth my time, you're delirious. Mysterious, because you hide behind a fake exterior. Inferior, you know I'll always be a bit superior. Get off of me, this ain't no humble brag. I want you to hear words, you can say them back. I want you to feel free from the chains at last, and to believe in what you got, it was built to last, yeah. Now that I've been through hell, I never got anyone's help. I had to do it all myself. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. Gonna learn the consequence of being incompetent. Mental health is confidence, dreams and some modestness. I'm not here to save the day, that's for you to take away. I could play a million mind games, but instead I say something not illogical, something that is topical. Rub it on and watch it go, make yourself unstoppable. Dreams are irresponsible, but they're always possible. If you just believe, you could be so remarkable. Thoughts in my head, a collage and they spread. I'll be great one day, going off of my meds. No, I'm not giving up, no, I'm not giving in. I will make it to the top, taking off in the wind. I gotta make it, I'm saving every day to taste it. I'm patient, but my mind, it can hardly take it. I'm chasing a dream that I've had for several ages. A vacant, modern kingdom for the taking. Now that I've been put through hell, I never got anyone's help. I had to do it all myself. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up.
A woman couldn't own a credit card for herself up until 1974, by the way. Yes, it took that damn long. Ugh.
Up-and-coming evangelicals to vote for Barack Obama. And apparently, these people really appreciate watching little babies wiggling around in the toilet before they die. Apparently, this is something that 40% of young American evangelicals really appreciate. And Dave, I don't know, am I a little too pent up about all of this?
Yes, you are. You absolutely are really pepped up, like the way you said it. Yes, you absolutely are. You old bastard. I know that's kind of funny coming from me because, yeah, I'm over 100 years old, so I'm 10 years older than Kevin Swanson, I guess. But still, nevertheless, it's in the 1950s. He wasn't even born in the 1950s, which is weird because how is it that you'd be nostalgic for an era you were never a part of to begin with? It's so weird. Anyway.
It's the inner city.
Well, Kevin, I imagine that they might say that it's a Supreme Court issue and not a president issue. Of course, the president does appoint the Supreme Court justices with the consent of the Senate. And Barack Obama has appointed 2 Supreme Court justices, if I'm not mistaken, and neither one of them are likely to vote against Roe v. Wade if it ever comes up. So
There's so much hypocrite here because, okay, let's just reverse the roles, so to speak, in a hypothetical what if situation. Because let's say, towards Kevin Swanson, let's say if he jacks off anything, which I'm pretty sure he's against, but that's besides the point. Let's say if some random male beats his meat, if he rocks his carrot, however, he spanks the monkey, however you want to say it, what if the dude is sent to jail just for masturbating? Just for jacking off? Just because he came, and he goes to jail just because he released himself. He was playing with himself until completion, and he goes to jail just for completing said tax. Of course, that's ridiculous, and it's so over the top when you think about it.
Well, let's see. If it's voting by dead body count, maybe I'll go with Hitler in this next election. Guys, we're just at the point where we need to find some principled candidates out there. And Dave, I think the other thing is these Christians, these so-called Christians that vote for Barack Obama, are not taught the law of God, and they are not given a biblical worldview. I mean, they're not seeing that.
Let me get this straight. Okay, aside from the pun, I guess. You're telling me I'm going against having a good family. I'm going against having a good Girl Scouts. I'm going against what it means to be a good person. I'm against what it means to be a truthful individual. I guess just a good person in general, I suppose. Just because I want to fight for women's rights, regardless of what their age is. They can be 2 years old, 3 years old, whatever. I want to fight for their rights. I want to fight for the right for them to live their lives however they see fit. So I'm a bad person just because of that? That doesn't make any sense. Like, what's the matter? Really? Different people do exist. You know that, right? Different folks for different strokes. I don't know if you ever heard of that. So there's that.
blessings. It is the way to please God. Any Christian needs to grasp the law of God as the way to live their life, the way to please their Father. Yes, it's true that the law will not give you salvation because you're incapable of keeping it. And Jesus kept the law for all of his elect. But it doesn't give us an excuse not to practice the law. And so when you have a candidate in the civil magistrate who is standing against the law of God.
I find it awfully hilarious that these Christians like this act as if they're being persecuted. And that's what's going on here. They're acting as if they're being persecuted just because the LGBT plus are having their rights, the women are having their rights, immigrants are having their rights, the Japanese are having their rights, so on and so forth. How things are different nowadays compared to, again, the 1950s somehow translates to the war is going to run. Again, like I said before, this is not a Christian nation. I do believe it's mighty arrogant for these people to think that they're somehow being persecuted because people are different nowadays and they just want to fight for their rights. And it seems like a dictatorship because when you think about it, I'm just bringing this up for a moment because, of course, they're going to talk about a few different topics before they go to the Girl Scout cookies things, of course. Just on another, this is all just a build to that, is what I'm getting. This entire thing is just a build to that. Anyway, before we move on, just say this is just ridiculous. It's so stupid. They still haven't provided what's wrong with it. What is wrong exactly? I don't know. Anyway.
Welcome back to the Generations Broadcast. Kevin Swanson, your host, with you today. Today, asking some basic questions. Why would a Christian vote for Barack Obama? Here's a second question. Why would a Christian participate in the Girl Scouts? According to the story from WorldNet Daily, hey, there are more and more Christian parents who are taking their daughters out of the Girl Scouts. Proof of the strong links between Planned Parenthood and Girl Scouts organization are found by looking no further than the statements of Girl Scout CEO Kathy Cloninger, who told NBC's Today Show in the interview, "We partner with many organizations. We have relationships with church communities, with Planned Parenthood organizations across the country to bring information-based sex education programs to girls." There's additional documentation and printed materials provided by the Girl Scouts, although the statement from Cloninger remains sufficient for many parents. It comes on the heels of the WND's exposure.
People like with Swanson, they want to destroy the sex education because, of course, this goes into the purity culture, and they act as if the sex before marriage is like the most evil thing in existence. This goes into the whole pregnancy thing earlier when it comes to Planned Parenthood, abortion, and all that. And yeah, it just goes all into that kind of a thing because they don't want people to be, I guess, educated in sex, which I find it kind of funny in a really stupid way because the own Bible, when I say they, mean people like Kevin Swanson, their Bible tells them to be fruitful and multiply. Yet they want to go against sex. Sex is evil. It's evil. Sex is the most evil thing in existence. I don't see how, but okay, sure. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Anyway.
Girl Scouts promotion of lesbian causes. Dave, I don't think there's any secret that that the Girl Scouts have been supporting Planned Parenthood, and for this reason, I'm not interested in buying Girl Scout cookies. I'm not really interested in that Girl Scouts fundraisers supporting Planned Parenthood in any way, shape, or form, because Planned Parenthood is, again, a feminist organization that supports the murder of unborn babies and has.
Where the fuck did you get that from? If the woman is like 2 months, 3 months, 4 months pregnant or whatever, it's too late. It's too late. I don't know where people like Kevin Swanson got the idea from. If it's already forming as a baby, you can't do that. You are actually not allowed to do that kind of thing. You have to do that beforehand.
For decades.
Well, and Kevin, I think what the cookie sale has become, I don't know what it started out to be, but it has become a fundraiser that uses little girls to raise money for causes they have no idea about.
I find it funny that he says that people who fight for women's rights are the ignorant one. Like they don't know any better. Like they like the knowledge. That's funny coming from them because that's how they are when it comes to these religious people. And I guess it's technically a red herring because it's technically, which is a logical fallacy, and also paying attention, only paid to the traditional logical fallacy, which is, of course, got to be a damn traditionalist, of course. And, of course, a logical fallacy as well, because God knows everything, so therefore he must be right. Just 3 logical fallacies right off the bat, which makes no sense, because they're acting as if that they know all the answers, which they don't. And Kevin Swanson has pout over here. And of course, women bad.
Raising money to support lesbianism and the death of children. And we call these women's causes. Yeah. And we're indoctrinating these pure little girls who just wanted some fellowship, maybe a little outdoor fun, into these horrible, horrific concepts of feminism, lesbianism, and fornication.
This is, again, another logical fallacy because whatever is the opposite of me is evil. This black and white thing is very black and white in thinking. Of course, this doesn't explain anything, so what's so evil about any of this exactly? Be specific.
And the death of children. And Kevin, I applaud you for not wanting to buy the cookies. Yeah. The cookies are overpriced. I've had your daughter's cookies. You don't need the Girl Scout cookies. Emily and Rebecca make fine cookies.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, we had Abby Johnson on our program a couple of months ago.
Funny that they'll say that killing kids is wrong, or against infants in this case, while they're still in the womb. But at the same time, I mean, okay, there's already a lot of killing in the Bible. There's so much killing in the Bible, and I do mean a lot. Anyway, that aside, One of the primary examples I can think of is Noah's Ark. There were already lots of animals that were pregnant. Kevin Swanson didn't mind those animals, pregnant animals dying, and there were a lot of pregnant women who were alive at the time, and they got killed because of the Great Flood. It flooded everything. So how is it that you're okay with abortions in the Bible and then turn around and be against abortion? This makes no sense at all.
At the interview that we did with her, and yet she wound up working for that Planned Parenthood. She comes out on this story and she says, oh yeah, Planned Parenthood and the Girl Scouts have had a relationship for a long time. In May, she wrote about handling a Planned Parenthood brochure as a Planned Parenthood employee and seeing the Girl Scouts of the USA logo on the back of the brochure. The brochure was titled, How to Know You Are Ready for Sex.
Okay, and I thought I sounded like an old fuck. You sound like an old fuck right there. They gotta have this brochure, how to have sex, blah 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 blah. Again, what is this? The 1950s? Again, people like Kevin Swanson already against the sex education anyway to begin with. So this again makes no sense.
Wonderful little creation, I'm sure, from Planned Parenthood. But evidently, the Girl Scouts have been supporting Planned Parenthood for a long time, and Abby Johnson, a former Planned Parenthood clinic director, says, oh yeah, that relationship is in place. Dave, I think it's time for Christians to get their girls out of the Girl Scouts.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's plenty of other ways for women to get around older women that might teach them how to love their husbands and love their children.
Oh, Christ's sake. You still could technically love your kids. You can still love your husband, love your wife. If you support gay people, if you support lesbians, if you support abortion and what against abortion, or I guess in this case for abortion, I suppose, and still do all those things. You still support all those things and still have a loving family. That is possible. Kevin Swanson is always simplifying the complexities of life.
Mentorship from the older ladies in the church. That sounds almost Titus 2-like.
Almost.
Yeah. Dave, I don't want to diss the Girl Scouts on all levels, but the Girl Scouts have had a reputation of creating feminists for a long time. And
this is also a red herring when you think about it, which, yes, of course, is again another logical fallacy because they're dismissing the actual trouble, the actual real life trouble when it comes to people. There are real problems right now. There are real problems within the Girl Scouts and whatnot. There are actual legitimate problems. But what Kevin Swanson and his friend over here, whoever he is, they're just missing that. They're just completely dismissing that and focusing on a make-believe problem. In other words, Kevin Swanson and his friend over here are chasing a phantom. This is a complete and utter phantom that they're going after. So again, what is the issue? What is the problem exactly? These people still didn't explain anything. Okay, well, what's the problem exactly with the Girl Scouts and whatnot? Okay.
And of course, Boy Scouts were going camping, and they were doing knots, and they were doing some other things. And so the girls wanted to get in on the action. The question was never asked, should they? And I think that still is a unanswered question. Should girls be doing all the same things? Now, there's certainly skills that young girls might want to learn. That would be some of the prairie kind of...
The only unanswered stuff that's going on here is from your stance. What's anything have to do with anything? You bring up so many random stuff. It's so completely and utterly random when you think about it.
Skills, how to create a home in a very primitive situation, how to live in ways that modern society doesn't help, but certainly not the same as it would be for a young man who might be going into war.
I don't see what war has to do with anything, but Kevin Swanson and his friend over here are just throwing so much information at once so you, the listener, gets confused, and they will act as if that you're getting confused. They use it for their benefit, as if they had a point.
Well, There are a couple other organizations that WorldNet Daily discusses. Pioneer Girls apparently is a club for girls that includes biblical teaching, relationship building, life skills development. That may be a good organization. I don't know. You might look into that. Also, the GEMS, GEMS Girls Clubs, Girls Everywhere Meeting the Savior. It's a non-denominational organization, shows young girls how to apply biblical truths to their lives. So some of these may be...
No, it's your version of truth. It's not the actual truth. It's your version of the truth. You're intentionally misrepresenting what's going on with the Girl Scouts, which is a manipulative tactic, and this is also very arrogant. You think as if the only right way to live your life is your way, and that's it.
Good opportunities for girls. And I would say, Dave, I mean, we have a hard enough time as a very thin minority in this country trying to emphasize biblical values, standing on biblical principles, trying to avoid the egalitarianism that's destroying families and uprooting girls and boys in their proper roles that God has created them for. We've had...
Again, this is just appealing to a traditional logical fallacy, which I mentioned way earlier. Again, this is not the 1950s anymore. The 1950s happened a long time ago. And even then, the 1950s wasn't exactly squeaky clean like you would imagine it to be, because you're clearly ignoring it. Yeah, the 1950s was a lot more dirtier than a lot of people seem to believe. Just look it up yourself. Do your own research when you think about it.
Many troubles just trying to keep our families together. I'd say it's time right now to get out of the this Girl Scouts organization. Let's stop supporting Planned Parenthood. Let's find ways in which we can raise our girls to be beautiful ladies of God, dependent upon their husbands. As 1 Corinthians 11 says, the woman is not independent of the man, and the man is not independent of the woman. And
you realize that, again, this is not the 1950s. That aside, there's this thing called interdependency, which we are two independent individuals who are working independently while simultaneously while using each other's helps at the same time. I guess it kind of depends what is a task here, of course, yes. But still, they're going to work together in some kind of way to some kind of very extent, I guess. Anyway.
And also creating, young girls who have the meek and quiet spirit, who are ready to be helpmeets to their husbands and home managers in the home. These are the objectives that God lays out in His Word. And unfortunately, many of these secular organizations, especially the feminist organizations like Planned Parenthood and Girl Scouts, certainly do not want to endorse a biblical anthropology or a biblical worldview when it comes to the development of young girls into ladies.
Kevin,
Of course, apparently the only way to be feminine, the only way you can be graceful and girly and womanly and all that is through his version of Christianity. The only way you can be so graceful or so dainty if you're conservative, which of course is a complete lie. There's more than one way to express femininity, I guess. There's more than one way to express femininity. It's so stupid. It is so dumb.
Real good rule of thumb that you can use when evaluating some of these organizations that are supposed to help disciple little girls is look at their uniforms. If they're basically wearing a miniskirt, that might just be an indication that that's not the organization that's going to help daughters become meek and chaste, honorable women. It's probably not going to be all that helpful in that regard. So,
there's other ways to teach femininity. Your way of teaching femininity isn't the only way. Of course, you can be modest, but again, being modest isn't only one specific way. What are you talking about?
Sometime in the future, and how to love their children that they'll have in the future. Are they teaching meekness? That is the service of other. Are they teaching honor, fear of God? If they're not teaching those things, it may not be the organization for your daughter. On the other hand,
you realize that it's a stereotype for lesbian women to be all butch and whatever. Okay, I guess apparently the only way that lesbians exist is because they're masculine, they're all butch and everything. Well, some of these do exist to some extent, sure, but is not the only way. Just because it rings true for some does not apply for all. How does this make any sense to you? I don't get it.
Rocky Mountain National Forest. We hiked in about 2 miles, and it was tough. It was tough on me. We slept for 2 nights out in a tent, out in the wilds, but it was a good experience. We just had a great time, and my daughters thoroughly enjoyed themselves.
gives a shit? Just because your kids enjoy this or that doesn't mean other people's kids would enjoy this or that, whatever that may be. Your kids can enjoy things all they want, but again, that doesn't mean the other individual's stuff it won't apply. It's so dumb. It's really stupid. Again, oh,
Daughter Becca is the only one in your family to get the dead deer merit badge.
Yes,
You know, so,
sure,
So she
sure.
is an accomplished hunter. It
Yes.
was for Swanson.
Yes, and I did much of the coaching there as she pulled that trigger and brought that deer down, and we've enjoyed.
okay, good for you. Just because it works for your family, just because it works for you, just because it works for your kids, it doesn't mean it's going to work for everyone else. Life in general, life in the grand scheme of things, is not a one size fit all. Again, just because it works for you and your friends and your extended family or even your immediate family doesn't mean it's going to work for literally everyone else. What you're saying, again, I'm sounding like a damn broken record, is that it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense at all. At the end of the day, as if it wasn't obvious already, you just want to control people. That's it. You just want to control everybody because you want to act like a damn dictatorship. And because you assume that you have the superiority, just because lesbians bad, lesbian. That's what I'm getting. That's what I'm getting at. You're acting as if lesbians are the root of all evil. You're acting as if that lesbians are like the scum of the earth, like they're the worst individuals ever. They might as well be worse than Joseph Stalin in this case. Might as well be worse than Hitler. Might as well be worse than what's the other guy? Oh yeah, Mao. There must be. I mean, there's other dictators because there's so many dictators in history. But point being is that they might as well the lesbians might as well be worse than every dictator existed. Never mind the horrific things that dictators like Kim Jong Oof over here did, in North Korea did, but lesbians are like 1,000 times worse. Just because I like to chew on the carpet, so to speak. If you know what I mean here. Ugh.
For the last 11 months. Well, ladies and gentlemen, just discussing some of the important issues right now in the Generations broadcast. These things come home to us, especially as evangelical Christians are often wandering away from the standards of God's Word, and typically they're led away by the systems around them. Friends, you've got to look at some of these things with a jaundiced eye. You have to look at what the world is doing.
What are you talking about? That's exactly what I'm doing here. Using critical thinking skills, using that critical eye. And you're not liking it. You don't like the fact that people are going to actually challenge you. You don't like the fact that people are going to actually not take what you're saying in face value. And you want people to take what you're saying in face value, but at the same time, you want to make it seem deep and meaningful when in reality it really isn't. This entire thing is complicated in a nearly nonsensical way, which it is. It just comes off as though you don't really have a point, because honestly, you don't have a point. You and your friend over here don't have points at all, and whatnot. I don't get what's so harmful about just allowing people to be people, like leave them alone. Are they bothering you? How are they bothering you exactly? I don't understand any of this whatsoever. This is just some nonsensical conversation about nothing. This is literally nothing. But of course, a lot of you Christians like to play the fact that you're a victim somehow. You're playing the victim. It's a how do I say this? It's a professional victim. It's a professional victim kind of thing. So the fact that in this day and age, a lot of stuff is different. Therefore, it's bad. Therefore, just the fact that things are different, of course, is somehow bad. You're not explaining nothing.
Ask a few questions. You can't just buy whatever the world is doing hook, line, and sinker. You've got to bring a biblical approach to how you raise your daughters, as well as how you vote and who you vote for in the presidential elections.
Dave 2012.
Go Dave 2012. There you go. Dave's still running for president, I guess, on the Generations radio broadcast. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you can interact with the program by emailing me directly at host@kevinswanson.com. You can also hear the program anytime, anywhere in the world at kevinswanson.com. This is Kevin Swanson inviting you back again next time as we continue to lay down a vision for the next generation.
All right, folks. Yeah, that's basically what this, of course, is. And then that's where it ends, of course. I still don't know what the problem is. I still don't know what the issue is. I still don't know what exactly is the conflict. Really, I don't know what the conflict is really because women have more rights nowadays, as mentioned before. That's true. So, but what's the issue? I know he and Kevin Swanson and his friend over here, they're trying to make it as if like society is somehow being destroyed just because of lesbians. And then, that's the entire core concept here is that lesbians are bad. And coincidentally enough, like no shit, Sherlock, lesbians are women who are interested, romantically speaking, with other women. Somehow, exclusively just women, which in itself is fine, to each your own, I guess. Personally, I don't care as long as you're happy, you do you, I suppose. That's fine, whatever. I don't care, and because ultimately, people as a whole, they're social creatures, and yes, a lot of them crave intimacy. They crave to have a relationship. I mean, sure, having a relationship may not be for everyone, and that's like another thing that Kevin Swanson. Granted, not everyone would want a relationship, sure. And that's something that Kevin Swanson doesn't realize. Even if everybody in the world is straight, which in itself is, of course, absurd because that's impossible. But that aside, even if everybody was straight, that doesn't mean everybody wants a relationship. It doesn't mean everyone wants to get married. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And another thing, with a lot of people out there, their love language is people getting intimate. They like to cuddle. They like to get intimate. Yeah, like those people out there who like to fuck, and that's how they communicate with their lover. I'm gonna say they. I'm not being specific on the gender, but point being is that yes, it depends on who they are. It depends who it is. I mean, for some people, for some people, they like to communicate their love, begin hot and heavy, which in itself is fun. It just depends who you are, and that's something Kevin Swanson and his friend over here don't seem to realize. It just depends on who you're talking about. And you have to realize another thing is that gets glanced over here is that friends with benefits. Oh, fuck buddies. That's the thing too. Just don't want that no strings attached kind of a deal. That's a thing. Granted, these two individuals may agree they just want to be friends with benefits and that's it. It doesn't necessarily mean that they can't be lovers later because there's that potential chance that they can become lovers afterwards. Because lo and behold, getting intimate with said person builds bonds. You think that'd be most? You think somebody of Kevin Swanson's age would have known that? He probably does know that to some extent, but still, though, he just doesn't want to accept the fact that people want to live different lives. I don't know how he can't accept that as a thing, but okay, whatever. It just seems so bizarre that he wants to control what's going on in the bedroom. That's what this is about. Anything he wants to control what's going on in the bedroom. Why does it matter anyway? Why does it matter? Seriously, why does this matter if two grown adults just want to have sex? That's it. Maybe one of them wants to do some role playing thing and dress up as a Girl Scout. Yeah, because cosplaying is a thing too. When you think about role playing, that's a thing. Because some people out there do have a uniform fetish. I mean, there's something specific for cosplay. I forgot there was a sexual thing specific just for cosplay. Not that cosplay is limited to something sexual, but I'm just saying. I just don't recall the name of it. But anyway, sidetracking here. But you have to realize that the whole thing with what I'm saying is that the whole thing with sex before marriage is a ridiculous thing because a lot of divorces happen because sexual incompatibility. That is a thing. I mean, some people would just live with it anyway and just be miserable for their whole lives. But still, though, let me just finish this right because this video is almost 40 minutes up at this point. But anyway, I just want to do this video as a way to just upload something on my original channel because I need to be more frequent on this channel just to upload something, I guess. So again, yes, be sure to check out my my other channel, folks. I will post a link down below. All right, just check out my link down below. So okay, just putting that out there. Just want to be more frequent. Just upload something on here. Uh, but yeah, that's the thing. Why does it matter if two women sleep with each other? And as long as with consent is not being forced or anything, why does it matter? It just seems so oddly specific that they want to cover something like this, and then try to attach it to like 50 different things. From their perspective, when I say they, I mean Kevin Swanson and his friend over here. These lesbians, they might as well be criminals at this point. I don't know how they're criminals exactly, but okay. I know these two individuals were trying to attempting to explain their way out of all this to make sure you, the viewer, can understand from their point of view. But the problem is they have no ground to back this up. I mean, there's a lot more to be said about this because, I mean, yes, there are these feminazis. Feminazis do exist, and there are women out there who do hate men. But that's just a small portion of feminism. And it's also a stereotype that the only reason a woman would be a feminist if she's a lesbian. I mean, don't get this wrong. Don't get this wrong either, but because they are lesbians who are feminists. Those do exist. Don't get me wrong. But point being is that it seems a bit of a stereotype that they're only exclusively lesbian. Again, just because that might be true for some, it does not speak for the entire group whatsoever, at all. Anyway, there are straight feminists, there are bisexual feminists, there's even trans feminists as well. Again, those do exist. And not that being trans has anything to do with your sexual orientation, I'm just putting it out there. Anyway, I mean, I could go on and on with it. There's like so much I can talk about this, but like I was saying, this video is already lengthy as it is. Anyway, yes, check out my second channel where I'll talk about movies and such. And yes, check out my channel, of course, the second one, and Alphas as well, if you want to see more gaming content. I guess that'll be it, folks, for now. And obviously, yes, thank you so much for watching. Just hear me ramble on and on about this, some fucking stupid ass, dumb ass nonsense. See ya. Until next time.